But anyway, we're here, episode 62 of Your House Our Rule. We have a very special guest here. It's Roman Jossart, fellow Butterboys, old bandmate and dropout graduate. He does films, both horror and acts, works as a gaffer, does all kinds of stuff. When we're talking about like old school friend, you are like the guy who like really got me not into like the creative aspects of life, but was like the person there that was like willing to do it with me. So like we used to do those old Butterboy videos, which will get us canceled. We're not going to link those anywhere because we were like 12 years old and it was very, very edgy to say the least.
Smosh had just came out with a video with them singing Pokemon. Like
that old school, no ads YouTube. It was. I looked at the other day because we couldn't find it.
The Wild West of YouTube.
We couldn't find it, and our old friend Tyler, our cousin Tyler, he's like, oh, I got it. I was hanging out with him. Like this was like last November. He's like, I got it, and I went back and watched these. I was like, these better never see the light of day. 14 years ago.
Straight up Zoomer humor.
14 years ago. But anyway, we're here. Roman Jossart. What do you want to get into first? You want to get into the film or Slasher Boy a little bit?
Oh, man. Well, first of all, that was probably the best intro I've ever had.
Oh, I had a plan,
and
bro.
Because we're childhood friends, you actually get my name right, which I love.
Yeah.
Every other show I'm on, it's, all right, and our special guest, Roman Jossart.
Jossart,
yeah. To be here. I'm like, yeah, it's me, Roman Jossart.
Had it our entire lives, man. But you would think that people would be able to, Jossart, be able to get through it. But, you know, it is what it is, man. Fucking since back in the day. I also want to just hit on a little bit. You, since day one, have always been one of the most, like, driven people to actually get shit done. That was part of the reason, like, I tell people all the time.
Which is funny because in my senior yearbook, I was voted biggest procrastinator by the class.
Well, you get in a difference of, you know, like school and then like stuff you actually want to do.
I do agree because if I gave a shit, I gave a shit.
Yeah, right.
And if I didn't, I could care less.
Yeah, but you always, I mean, back in the day, I tell people all the time, like when I was 14 years old, like I was playing drums in a band. And like we have videos of the Dropout Graduates page of us playing like Fall Out Boy and Green Day at Navy Bean Festival.
I could be remembering wrong because it was, I mean, we're talking like over 15 years ago. But we needed a drummer. I had the band. It was a 3-piece because we didn't have a drummer, but we wanted a drummer. You, I think, said you would learn drums, and I don't even think you had the set for 2 months. And we started having band practice, and you started learning covers. So I remember you learned drums like a prodigy.
Yeah, dude.
We were all like, I'm telling you, I think in 4 months of him learning the drums, we played our first gig.
Yeah.
And we played like 6 songs.
So I actually do remember this. It was back in the day. I played guitar, and we had met because my Uncle Kevin and Aunt Amy at the time were camping down at Little Farm, which is where we met in Rising Sun, Indiana. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we used to have like a little crew, and we had a permanent campsite down there because I went down when they already had a permanent campsite. And my parents were like, you know what? He's meeting all these friends. Let's go ahead and do it. And when we got to know each other, I found out that you played guitar. Mm-hmm. And at the time, Brandon Arnold was playing guitar with you.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And Zach was the bassist that you had, and I was playing guitar, and you're like, well, we need a drummer. And I was like, fuck it.
I'll learn.
I'm getting rid of the guitar. I was like, I'm picking up drums.
Zach, I was like, so I think I found a drummer. He doesn't play yet.
Yeah.
But he says he's going to learn how to play drums for us.
Yeah. And I remember our first set that we did, I had those old fucking ZXT Zildjian fucking cymbals, which were like, they were like $150 for the set or something. They sounded awful. And we played in that little stage you had in your backyard for like 30 people or some shit. And I had been playing drums for like a month or two.
Yeah, it was not long at all.
It wasn't.
We had a gig.
Yeah.
And you kept rhythm. Like, I remember being like, he's a drum prodigy.
Yeah. Well, dude, I remember I've always had rhythm because, like, back in the day, remember the dances that we would have at Little Farm?
Oh, yeah.
We would have, like, every Saturday they would have a live dance, and, like, it was just like a little DJ playing, like, you know, Cupid Shuffle and shit like that. And we all used to get down, and I guess I kind of, like, learned how to keep rhythm
cha-cha'd like a motherfucker.
The electric slide.
Oh, bro, my Cupid Shuffle is to die for, bro. I start doing this little hop thing.
We'd be on the basketball court 50 feet away from the pavilion, and you would hear the song come on the PA, and Keith be like, I gotta go.
Yeah, I gotta go.
They're calling me.
They're calling me.
I gotta go. So yeah, fucking, I learned drums. I picked them up fast. I've always been pretty good at picking things up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So, but the drums for something like, because guitar was never like that, but drums, something about it just clicked.
And then we did that for 4 years.
We
it
did
was all through high school for me.
It
was freshman year to senior year.
Yeah, and I
the
think
year after.
And I think I was like 12 when we first started getting into it. And I remember there was a time where like I started getting into high school, and like everyone from the campsite had kind of like started going their separate ways, but still kind of was in contact. And I remember you guys actually had another drummer, and you guys were supposed to play Dillsboro Festival, and you guys hit me up and you're like, hey, we got this other drummer. You guys had recorded some stuff, and I remember I was like, this bitch ass motherfucker, he can't play like me.
I think his name was Austin.
I don't know, but you guys had been like,
I vaguely
you had been like,
remember this.
I remember you guys told me we're playing this show in 2 weeks, and they're like, he can't make it. Do you want to be our drummer? And I was like, yeah, fuck it. So I came back down. And like I started playing, and I remember afterwards was when you were like, you know what, this other drummer sucks, bro. Fucking, you want back in the band? And then that's when we went up to because like, dude, do you remember the fucking castle that we recorded the EP in back in the day?
Oh, dude,
that was after I had came back.
So you know who lives there now? You know who bought that house?
No, who?
Tony Moore, the artist from The Walking Dead.
Oh, really?
The guy the graphic artist.
Yeah.
So the guy who draws The Walking Dead lives in that house.
Let me explain
That's
this.
crazy.
Let me explain this house a little bit. We're talking about. Okay, sorry, I don't know why it just cut out on me right there, but this house that we're talking about where we were recording this EP that we did, Dropout Graduates, fucking 14 years ago or some shit like that. It was out in the middle of Aurora, Indiana. I'm talking, you're driving and it's like double wide trailers and like a couple random houses and shit. And then there's this long gravel drive, and you can see these 3 domes back up at the top of the hill.
What?
And you go down, dude, it was like a straight up mansion with a probably $250,000 recording studio. It had a
crazy.
studio up top and just this thing. I don't know how you met that dude, but the guy who owned the house at the time or had it built,
I
he built
never
the Procter
met
&
the
Gamble.
owner.
It was his kid.
So the people who lived in it while we recorded there,
Yeah.
his father, so the kid I knew,
Yeah.
his grandfather, he invented the strike on the lighter.
Right.
When you flick a lighter.
I thought he did the Procter & Gamble satellite.
No,
that's what I was told back in the day.
He invented the strike on the lighter. Like he patented that.
He patented that, and that's how he had so much money.
Yes.
I remember you
Like,
told me that he
It
just
was
lived in
something
some
super simple.
He just lived in some apartment and just let his kids live there rent free, because this was a multi-million-dollar house.
Yeah, I think
we
it
were
was
in.
a $3 million.
And I remember they couldn't furnish it, so most of the rooms were just fucking completely empty. Don't be breathing into that mic over
Yeah, I
there.
know. I wasn't trying to.
DOG Chronicles.
Yeah,
Here
but-
we go. So we want video 1 because that's when we show how to get to this bitch.
Bro,
Oh my god.
you can hear it on there too. This is the little thing that we did. Hopefully I can like kind of get this in. Oh my god. I'm going to have to cut this in, bro, but like, dude, that was some fun days back in the day. Some fun days, man.
I remember when you
this
got the
driveway.
guitar.
Yeah.
And then I remember when you got the drums.
Yeah.
So you're just driving down gravel. Remember the night we got stuck trying
We got
to leave?
stuck,
Oh my
bro.
God.
And
The snow.
that fucking
And then you find this 3-domed 5-car garage. $3 million. So the whole dome on
That-
the right
that
side.
house has to be more than $3 million,
That whole
bro.
dome on the right
Now,
side
for
is
sure.
nothing but recording
even back then.
studio.
Yeah.
The whole right side dome is nothing but the recording studio, and the left 2 are the house.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll cut that one in so people
And
can
there's a
kind of see it a little
sniper
bit.
perch at the top.
It was crazy, dude. And I remember one day we were out there and we were trying, because it's a gravel road and it goes up this hill, and it had snowed. And I was in there with my old school Corolla and shit like that. And James, I forgot James was in it too.
Big Daddy
But
J.
I remember we had gone up, and your car, because it was a rear-wheel drive Thunderbird, got stuck. And fucking, do you remember that you spray painted your fucking car because the cops were looking for you?
We got tractor paint, and we painted it black. But I can't remember why they were looking. I remember painting it.
I don't know, but
we
I
did
remember
it in the
'cause-
winter because it took like so much extra longer because it was cold outside and the paint wouldn't fucking stick.
Yeah, and I remember the only reason we knew that is because the entire time, every time we would have band practice down at your house, your grandma or mom, one of the two, had a police scanner in the and you heard, and she heard your name come across it, and you were like, "Fuck it, I'm painting my car." And out there in Rising Sun, Indiana, with all 1,000 people, you're the only person with a fucking Thunderbird out there. Painting the car probably did absolutely fucking nothing.
We didn't get pulled over. But if you it was funny because if you open the doors, the whole doors were still white, on the inside of the car. Like I only painted the exterior.
Yeah.
Like as soon as you opened it, all the framework was still fucking white.
You had that red cloth interior though.
Did you even?
Yeah, it was like a red velvet.
Did you sand the car and do everything?
No, dude. We
Okay,
just
that's
painted.
when you were saying that the paint wasn't sticking and shit. That's all I was thinking.
We
Was
went
like,
to
wait a
Orscheln's
second.
Tractor Supplies. We got tractor spray paint.
It was black tractor paint, and I remember he spray painted it.
How bad did it look?
It was so bad, bro. And the thing about it is, fucking, we painted it, and then fucking, it was like 2-3 weeks later, someone said something about a clear coat, and we're like, oh, maybe that'll look better.
Oh yeah, sure thing.
Oh, we just clear coated over it, bro.
We
Fucking,
painted that bitch.
we were some old MacGyvers back in the day.
When I
man.
got
So
it was
funny,
white.
dude.
It was funny because when I went to, I think we went to sell it. The title said it was white,
I can't imagine.
but
dude.
it was fucking black car. But they got it.
We brought to Mako, got it painted.
It was like a whole thing. But I can't.
Oh my god.
That was back in the day as a little farm, man. But let's get in a little bit. Let's start moving into
Yeah.
some of your stuff. So you got a couple things that you want to talk about today. One being your band Slasher Boy, and the other one being the movie that you're currently working on with Zach Statham. Shout out Primal USA, who's actually acting in it. Correct?
Yeah.
So let's get into that a little bit. What's this project for everyone at home who's watching this? Roman does a lot, very heavy in the horror community. I remember back in the day, we always used to watch like Hatchet, and one of my still all-time favorite movies, Behind the Mask. So you used to. I remember you told me back in the day, you're like, you ever been to a horror hound? I'm like, what? And it turns out it's just Star Trek for horror nerds.
Yeah. It's Comic-Con for horror fans.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about the movie. What's the premise? What you got going on?
Yeah.
Man?
So yeah. I own Studio 605. That's my company that I started back in 2013, and I started it because I started making movies basically out of peer pressure. But after the band that Keith was in with me,
First of all, we started
broke up.
making videos back when we were 14.
Yeah, we're not gonna call them short films.
Yeah, no.
We'll call them just videos.
Yeah.
But after the band broke up, the band broke up in Dropout Graduates, our high school band. We broke up, I think, in 2011
I'm not sure.
or
because
2012. It was a year or two after I graduated.
It was because I'm pretty sure it might have been
I think
2011.
you went to college.
No.
Somebody
Because
went
I'm
to
younger
school, right?
I'm younger than you. Maybe.
Did Zach leave?
Maybe. I can't remember exactly what happened, but I remember because when I had come back after initial time, it was like in between my freshman and sophomore year, which was 2008 or 2009 into 2010.
Okay, because I knew it was right around the time that I graduated high school. The band had also kind of ended as well.
Yeah.
So then I got out of high school in 2010. And I was like, what the fuck am I going to do? I thought we were going to be rock stars. There was no plan B.
Yeah.
I didn't go to college, which even though I had the 21st Century Scholar, I could have went to any school in the state of Indiana, including NKU or Cincy State, for free.
Yeah.
But it wasn't for me.
Yeah. No, school isn't. And I went and did audio video production. It's very nice to like.
That would have been the only thing I would have pursued around
well,
here.
that's where I went, and it's nice to get like professors that can help you through and have like that whole learning curve or whatever. But realistically, you can learn all of it online, and it's more about who you know
and
rather than having that degree.
That's kind of what happened with me is I learned everything from YouTube. But so like 2 years went by, and 2 years went by.
You can't hear it in the fucking.
I heard it. I heard it with my ears.
Okay. Yeah.
But like 3 years went by, and I was just kind of working jobs, not doing anything, nothing career worthy. And I had this friend at the time that found out I had wrote the campground all through high school.
Which, as I was talking about before, when we had band practices, I would like help write that fucking script.
I wrote that script from basically, I think, 06 to 2013.
Yeah.
I was just editing and changing.
Damn.
Well, dude, he was a fucking kid when he first came up with the idea of this.
Yeah, 06 I would have been, I mean, shit, I think I was 14.
Yeah.
When I came up with the campground. I
do you remember
make it till I was 21.
Do you remember you originally had me playing Charlie Varson in the fucking thing?
Because you were the only tall person.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then he found out that I had wrote the script in high school, and he's like, "Oh, let me read it." I didn't let him read it for a little bit. Finally, I let him read it. Then he starts, "Oh my God, we should make this. And I'm like, "We're not gonna make a movie." Like,
well, you guys had tried to make it without me before I had got to the campground. Because you remember, because
we had done some video stuff, but like we didn't even have a script finished back then.
Oh, no, I know, because I remember you guys. It's like fucking 11-year-olds acting out all this stuff, and
so I get the script done probably around 2010ish.
Yeah,
when I finished high school, and it was funny because I had saved the file for it on the school servers. So any school, and I had hid it inside of I'd hid it deep inside like the folders of the school server. Mm-hmm. So any computer in the entire school, I could access my script and edit it. So I didn't even work on it at home. I only worked out on it at school because it was saved to the school servers. And no matter what classroom I was in, the library, I could pull it up and find it. Yeah. And the teachers had no idea it was ever hidden in there. Thank God, because the content is horrible for a student to be writing. Because I had watched Hatchet, and then I was like, "Oh, I should make a movie."
It's a horror movie too, so you could have gotten some big shit.
Well, the thing is, looking back on this movie script and shit, like, it was legit like a slasher film. Obviously, it was made by a kid in grade school or maybe early high school,
but it wasn't panned out.
But it was
things
influenced
that I saw
by
in
all
like
the
Hatchet and Nightmare on Elm Street.
And like I remember you had shown me back in the day Behind the Mask, which is a phenomenal movie that stands out. Like not
Behind
just
the
horror
Mask,
movies.
The Rise of Leslie Vernon.
Yeah. And if people
came out with a whole comic book series too called Before the Mask.
Oh,
Return of Leslie Vernon.
I did not.
It just came out like 2 years ago.
Oh, really?
They're
still doing.
Yeah.
Damn.
Well, they're trying to get another movie made for it.
Oh, I'd be in, bro.
They want a sequel.
But the point that I'm trying to make is that if you ever see the movie, it's kind of like a found footage, like Handycam type movie, and it follows around in the world of like Freddy, Jason, all
basically,
those
if Michael
movies.
allowed a documentary crew and he was like, "You want to see how I do this shit?"
And they follow him around, and it's like kind of the documentary that they're filming. And if you're watching it, there's all kinds of homages to like, you know, the lore and the stuff behind horror movies and slasher movies. And you were always so into that, so that definitely bled through into your script.
Absolutely. So yeah, he reads it, and then we get to for like 3 months he's sitting there like, we should do this movie, and I'm like, we're not gonna make a fucking like that's a whole movie, we're not doing it. So peer pressuring me for like 3 months. Finally, I'm like, screw it. I go to Best Buy and I bought a Canon T3i, which at the time was like a $600 camera. So for me, I blew like 3 months worth of paychecks back then for this camera. Mm-hmm. I got on Amazon. I bought a lighting kit, a little 2-point lighting kit. Fluorescent bulbs are fucking terrible, but I bought that for like $200. So, and then I bought a cheap audio gear. So I basically spent like $1,000 one day, and I bought all this shit. And I called him and I said, "Listen, you want to do it? We'll do it. I just bought a camera.
We're gonna do it.
I just bought audio recording equipment, and I bought 3 lights.
Yeah."
Let's make the movie. Dude bails out once we start making the movie.
I don't remember. Are you talking about me?
No.
Okay.
This was a friend at the time that was like, I had no aspirations to become a film banker.
Yeah.
He was just like, we should do it. And finally I was like, fuck it. We'll do it. And then we did the casting calls. We get everybody together. We're about to show up on production. We're about 3 weeks out. And he's like, this is too much pressure for me. I got to quit. And I'm like, and now everything's on me, and I didn't even want to fucking do it in the first place.
Hey, glad you spent all that money,
dude,
buddy, but I'm out.
I didn't know that you were even making it until after it was like already done, or I would have definitely helped you on it.
Because I never even wanted to.
Yeah.
I was peer pressured into it, then the dude bailed on me right beforehand.
Hey, but are you glad it happened?
Well, that's the thing. So I think we were about 3 weeks into it, and after the 3rd week, I started to like, I think I looked at my buddy he became my business partner and no longer my business partner, but I looked over to my buddy Brandon and I said, I think I kind of like this.
Yeah.
I was like, like this started off as a fucking nightmare,
think
but
I'm
this
enjoying
this
this.
is kind of fun. I might do this. We should make another movie.
Yeah.
And then thus after that, so the first movie, The Campground, the killer's in a Boy Scout troop, and it's Troop 605.
Yeah.
So I used that as the company to form my company, which is Studio 605.
Right.
So it's all based off of the troop that Charlie Varson was in anyways.
Yeah. I knew that. Yeah, and there's the whole backstory in the slasher, and then you have the whole movie. So definitely check that out. That's the first
and that
one he's
was 2013, so that was 10 years ago.
done. Yeah, that's crazy. 10 years
10 years ago in May. So
Bro,
10
we're-
years ago, basically 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're getting old, man. We're getting old. But yeah, and then the rest is history after that. And I remember looking back on it after like high school and that era
Yeah, it
stuff.
became a drug after that.
You had gone into like more of the video type thing, and I had kind of stayed with more of the audio because I like sound editing and doing all that type of stuff a lot more than film. Film's a little bit too much for me. It's a lot more encompassing.
I was like, if I can't be a rock star, maybe I can be a movie director.
Yeah, they're both fun. I remember when we were in school.
I was like,
doing
I just want to be an entertainer.
yeah, being back in the day when I was in college doing like single cam production classes or whatever, just setting up shots and stuff like that. It was so fun. It was. But when you're talking about like a full length production that you're doing, that's when it starts to get a little bit daunting.
And honestly, it's like the ones that are the days or the shots, the things that are the most stressful.
Yep.
Those are the most fun when you look back on it. You're like, holy shit, we pulled that off.
We made it happen.
Like, oh my God,
For
it
sure.
could have gone wrong 1,000 ways, but we got it.
Yeah. Hell yeah, man! But what? So you did the Campground. You've done a bunch of other things. Started getting into acting as well as directing. Now you do gaff work.
Yeah, I do a lot of. So it was in.
What is gaff work? Is that like
So gaffer is basically he's the guy that works under the director of photography, or some people the cinematographer. So the gaffer basically is in charge of like the lighting design.
Okay, that's what I thought.
So
I just wanted to make sure.
the DP or the cinematographer and myself as a gaffer, which I get hired a lot for now. In like the last 3 years, I've really become like I travel for gaffing work. Because I just love shaping lighting, manipulating lighting.
Lighting's some of the more fun things to do.
I'd never done it until we produced the film in 17. It was called Scream for Summer.
Yep.
And we did not have a lighting guy, a gaffer. So I was like, maybe I'll try it. Well, I'm already going to be on set. I was already acting in the movie, and I was producing the movie. And I was like, well, when I'm not acting, I was like, or even before I'm acting, I was like, I can set up lights, I guess. I can help you guys out. So we started doing that, and I started, and in that movie, we tried to mimic like Riverdale, the TV show. So there's a lot of like colors.
Yeah,
a lot of
I've never seen Riverdale.
A lot of RGB.
Right.
So I started playing with RGB on that set and started manipulating lighting and shadows, and I was like, holy shit. Like, this is super dope. Like, I can change the whole mood by, like, putting a shadow on the side of a person's face.
Color grading was surprisingly
Like,
one of my favorite
for editing, that's, I think, my
it's
favorite
different
process.
thing, but
Because it changes, you get to pick that mood.
it
changes the whole tone.
It's really wild how much like those added influences like alter productions.
Like
and
if the
stuff
light's
like
coming
that.
from below, it's probably a villain.
Like,
Right.
But if it's from above, it's probably more angelic.
And then you get
like-
to talking about like eye light, which brings life into a character. And sometimes they'll purposely not put eye light into a character to make them seem like a zombie.
We all
or
do
dead.
it at campfires without thinking about it. When you put the flashlight underneath your face and you're trying to be spooky, because cinematically we all know spooky people get lit from underneath. You have more shadows on your face.
It's almost like the light's coming from like the underworld or from hell or something like that, and that like adds to that effect and thought.
Absolutely. So yeah, I started doing that, and then I really started liking it, and then more and more projects I started offering, like, hey, do you have a gaffer? Because I think I kind of like gaffing, and I've been doing a lot of that. I do a lot of first AC too, which is focus pulling.
Okay.
So like I'm the guy that gets to sit in a chair
That
under an
shit's rough.
umbrella. But the other guy's running around, but it's my job to just sit there and like, what do you want in focus? And normally me and that guy will have a walkie-talkie headset back and forth to just us. So he can just he'll say like, rack back. When the girl comes around the corner, I want you to look at her. Like it's a lot of like real fast, just like, okay.
It's super crazy. They always told us you had like grease pens or whatever to mark like where it is if you're pulling focus from one focus to another.
I did on a movie last October. We were doing a car chase scene. So there was a camera car in front, and then my car was the car behind, and I sat in my passenger seat while somebody else drove during it, and I was pulling focus from my passenger seat while they're filming in the car in front of me, filming the car in front of them,
Jesus.
and we're all going like 30, 40 miles an hour, and it's just like all like, all right, we're going to turn, we're going to go. Rack back, rack left. Yeah. Like, it's just so much like, and then you get the shot and everybody, just adrenaline.
It's crazy how much like it actually goes into that and everything. Like,
yeah, and then you mess it up towards the end. It's like, all right,
reset.
We gotta drive around the block. Let's get all the car set back up.
And then you have some jackass who's like, fucking, we don't need more takes. Just fix it in post. Yeah. Like, no,
I wasn't recording,
or some stupid shit like that.
Yeah. What's his? This isn't the exact same thing, but it adds to the cinematography and stuff. The sound and shit. Hans Zimmer is fucking
amazing.
Yeah,
he's amazing composer.
Music is 70% of your movie. You can change the whole
Interstellar. Like,
it's one of my favorite.
Yeah,
movies.
it's one of the best movies, dude. I actually just showed my dad it the other day, and like, just like how much weight the sound adds to to certain scenes
music
and stuff like
and
that.
Sound design.
Yeah. It's like makes some of the scenes in that movie are so heavy, and there's nobody's saying anything in any of the acting. It's
Absolutely.
it's just the lighting and the sound and stuff, and the fucking when she makes the first handshake or whatever, when they're fucking like when everything's like reality's bending and shit, and she reaches out and her like fingers are like going and shit. Like fucking that shit is just mind blowing.
Yeah, music adds just a whole nother level. Like the most recent comparison I can think of was when actually Justice League came out. So the theatrical version had Danny Elfman. He did the score. But the Snyder cut has Junkie XL as the composer. Danny Elfman's not even on it. Completely, like, obviously different directors kind of too, the whole Joss Whedon thing, but you have this like music tone wise completely polarizing different things, and it's all because of the score. Like the score changed the whole tone and the color grading that you brought up earlier. The color was different and the score was different. It's a whole different movie. It changes literally every aspect. It's just like, but then you go make it a little darker, maybe put a little tension drone in there. You change, maybe bring the contrast down. All of a sudden, you've got this heavy moment. Like it changes. It's crazy. You've seen like those edits, like Miss Doubtfire, the horror movie version. Have you seen those things on YouTube?
Maybe.
Like there's a bunch of like where people just do edits to
make
things.
Changes.
And it's as simple as just cutting and adding the music, the sound design, and it changes the whole tone.
like making like Mrs. Doubtfire like The Shining or something.
Exactly. There's a great thing on
I know
YouTube
what you're talking about for
where
sure.
Somebody did a horror edit of it, and it looks like, damn, I would see this in theaters. This is terrifying.
I could see a Mrs. Doubtfire horror movie.
Like, crazy. When you have those like really scary like fringy sounds or whatever, like scores, or I should say, it's completely different than like Hans Zimmer. I know he's known for like Pirates of the Caribbean, which is great in its own aspect,
dude,
but like that super in your face action movie.
Yeah, but he also did the Dark Knight trilogy.
Yeah, he's done everything. He's done so much. Yeah, he's like
the guy.
He's the Kevin Bacon of fucking scoring a movie.
He's like the guy.
He's been in everything.
He's like the Michael Jordan of fucking.
Yeah, he's working with he's working with BMW right now for their new electric cars. He's designing all the sounds that the engine will make.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So
that's crazy.
The new BMW electrics that come out, I think it's the 2024s. When they come out, all the engine, all the muffler, they're all designed by Hans Zimmer.
Like that. I don't know if that's a great idea, because people will be driving their cars and they'll think they're in like a fucking action movie or something now. They'll just be like
if it wasn't spaceshipy enough,
they're not even in reality anymore.
You get into it and it's just like sounds by Hans Zimmer.
Like the Tesla screen.
Yeah.
Bro, that is so great. Oh, God. That's a fucking clip right there.
That's exactly what will happen.
But yeah, man, a lot
The
of goes
engine
into it.
startup is gone. It's just that nice hum, like a
Maybe you're driving at night and put some really spooky
It's like
sounds on.
remember THX in the 90s when you go to the theater? Like the it's that now when you're driving.
Jesus Christ, bro. That's fucking great.
Brought to you by Industrial Light and Magic.
Oh, God. But that's crazy. Now that you've got a guy who does like classical sounds for movies now, just designing sound designs for cars. Yeah. Okay. Whatever. But moving on, let's talk a little bit about Placid Park and the movie that you got going on. Give us a little bit of the premise and, just hype it up a little bit.
For sure. So Placid Park, I have been working on this since 2019. When I came up with the idea, I was actually at Lost Lands.
Oh, really?
And so
I don't get the
out
creative
in the crowd.
juices flowing.
Yeah, so I had taken some things to help with creative juices that day, and we were out on the lawn, and I was watching my favorite DJ,
Figure.
which is Figure, and I was laying out there watching Figure, and this idea. He's for people who don't know, he's a horror DJ.
This is, let me take this one real quick because this is really interesting that you brought this up because I didn't know this before. But I remember 2019 being at that set and like our guy because our buddy
Chad, it was a back-to-back with Photo Hype.
Our buddy Chad Cody was talking to us and he's like, bro, we got to check out fucking Figure and we got to like check it out. He's like, he does these like horror visuals behind his like super like. But anyway, sorry, I cut out again. We were talking about Figure and he's like he does these horror visuals behind like his dubstep, his sound design or whatever. And we were checking that out. I was watching that, so it's interesting that you had the entire premise for Placid Park.
So yeah, we're sitting out there, and I'm on acid at the very least. So like the visuals are
at the
very intense, and I'm laying out there, and I'm with my buddy Justin, and I'm with Kara. So we're laying out there, and we're watching these visuals, and I'm just seeing all these monsters and these crazy things, and it's just the dubstep, and it was in Wampy Woods, so it was just trees around us and shit. So it felt like we were like in the woods compared to like main stage or something like that. And I look over at my buddy Justin, and I just go, man, what would everybody here do if a fucking monster showed up? And he just looked at me and he goes, I don't want to think about that right now. And I go, I can't stop thinking about it. I said, I've been thinking about it for 10 minutes over here. I was like, if a monster showed up, I said, everybody out here's fucked up. I said, what would they do?
Oh, and
and he was like, I don't know. It'd be mayhem. I said, that sounds terrifying. And he's like, it is. I don't want to talk about it. So the whole rest of the night, when we get back to the campsite, I'm still sitting around at our camp, and I'm like, dude.
That monster's
And he's like, I don't want to talk.
up.
He's like, get off of it. And I'm like, I can't stop thinking about this monster idea.
It's crazy how some people on psychedelics are so like, no, but some people like just welcome the
I was like,
fuck
I
shit.
understand that this is a terrifying subject,
Yeah.
but what the fuck would people do?
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't know. And
You were killing his vibe for sure.
I was.
That's
I
fucked
was.
up, but
It was the whole squad. It was the whole squad. I kept
though.
walking up to everyone individually, and I'm like, so I got a question.
I feel you though because like, dude, sometimes when like back in the day when I used to do acid and shit like that, I was like, I'd be super comfortable about some really fucked up thoughts, and I'm also that jackass that's gonna make your time bad.
Yeah, I'd started with like, I'm gonna apologize for this, but
Yeah.
So then I couldn't let go of the idea. I get back home and I'm still thinking about that. Like, man, if we were in the, so then I kind of downsized it to what if it was a group of friends that went out camping and they just went out there to take some shrooms and maybe some LSD like they normally probably would and just hang out and have a good time. But what would happen if this time a monster showed up? So then we kind of downsized it and came up with Placid Park. And it's so funny because we jump forward to now 5 years later. Figure is doing the music for the whole movie.
Oh, for real?
He's scoring the whole film.
Oh,
so
that's
I
neat.
came up with the idea watching this dude while on
That's fucking
LSD.
really
and I'm
neat.
like, bro, this is crazy. This music is insane. I love it. I need to make a movie. To now, he's doing the music for the movie.
Yeah. And you got local DJs playing it, acting in it and stuff like that.
We got
so.
Primal.
Yeah.
We're going to be acting inside of it.
Yep.
So, yeah, because the because the birth of Placid Park was born out of EDM.
Right.
So I wanted that to be a big part of the movie because I feel like EDM doesn't have their movie. Like skaters have movies for them.
I feel
like
you.
there's like niches that have like movies catered towards like
Yeah, for
snowboarders
sure.
Yeah.
and sports and things like, but there's no like for people that just like to take acid and hang out with their friends or take shrooms and go out into the woods and hang out with their friends
And just listen to fucking laser beam music.
there's no positive movie for that.
how you called it
all the
laser beam
movies for it feel negative to me. It's always like, well, shit went wrong because you did drugs.
Yeah. Well,
versus-
that's the problem with the EDM community, though. It's so ingrained with drug culture.
exactly.
That,
So I wanted to make a very positive movie about the drugs. The people are just at the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah.
It has nothing to, like, and because they're on drugs, it's just that much worse.
Yeah. For sure.
So yeah, so it's definitely a creature feature. I market it as a psychedelic cosmic horror film. If you were to mix Alice in Wonderland, Annihilation with Pumpkinhead,
Hey,
that is Placid Park.
that's a hell of a concept, and just the entire story behind how it became developed is its own thing in and of
The
itself.
vision for
So,
it, the way I told my camera team was if Zack Snyder had directed Tim Burton's Sleepy Hollow,
right. Yeah.
like, that's the movie I want to make.
Sounds super
Like,
interesting.
super visual, super high the visual. I'm a visual storyteller, I feel like. So
Sure.
for me, it's all about like how cool can we make this experience
Yeah.
for the people watching it?
Yeah.
Because I want people to not only like enjoy the movie, but I want them, if they've never done drugs, I
Right.
want them to come out of it understanding what these characters are going
I'm
through.
sure you have. Have you seen Midsommar?
Yes.
Midsummer
yes.
does a very good job of capturing
Yes.
what it's like to be tripping fucking
breathing
balls.
plants and-
Yeah,
yeah.
The fucking puckering vagina and the flowers. And shit. Yeah. No, that
Another trippy one for me visually was, did you see Annihilation?
I don't think so. No.
Oh,
Yeah, I've seen it.
bro, so good. You would probably
I might
really
have to
like
check
that
that one.
movie.
I might have
It's
to
pretty
check that.
wild.
Yeah, like this alien meteorite thing crashes on Earth and has created this RGB shimmer
Yeah, it's
around
just like
this
the,
giant area,
it's like
and
a
everything in
giant
it is now
zone.
mutating to this alien. It's basically like terraforming.
I think I might know. Is Natalie Portman in
Yes,
it?
Yep, she's
Yes.
the lead.
Okay, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I'll check that. I
Very
might have to
good
check that
movie.
out. I'm gonna write that down. I'll probably remember that one. So, yeah. But anyway, we got Placid Park coming out, and does the Kickstarter still up?
So it's in demand. It's on Indiegogo, actually. So
Okay.
in demand means basically we hit the goal that we were asking for,
Yeah.
and people can still donate
'Cause that's
if
what-
they want to pre-order the DVD or the Blu-ray at the very least.
Right, and you hit the marks that you needed to, so it's already got the funding behind it to, as you feel, get it done the way
Yep.
it needs to do. But hey, everything helps, so definitely go check that out. Check out the movie when it drops. Do you have any type of like drop date for it? I know it's
So we'll be going into production May of
Yeah, I
2024.
know, it's very
now
early
that
on.
we've got the money, we actually Cody Rook, I think is how you say the last name, is our makeup artist
Mm-hmm.
and our creature designer. He's about 75-80% done with all of the creature designs and the monster suits and everything like that. So we're gonna hopefully this October we're planning to do some lighting tests, some screen tests, so the people that did donate already have something to see, like what we're doing in prep,
Of course.
to show like because there's a lot of heavy VFX things, the most that I've ever done.
Yep.
So we're gonna test all that shit this October, so that when we show up in May, we can be like, we know how to do it versus we hope this works.
yeah, right.
It's like,
especially if you want
now that we've shot it once and we edited it and we know what it looked like, we know how to tweak it to make it look even better.
Definitely, and you have the
Yeah.
know-how. You've been doing this shit for a decade now, and
that's the thing, like-
lot to bite off on this one. So
And that's the thing too, like you said. So I've been doing this for 10 years. I directed the campground, and then 2 years later, I remade it, and it was called Campground: The Requel. It was a remake and a sequel to the campground. And I haven't directed a feature since.
really.
I've produced everyone else's movies. I've cinematography, and I've done the lighting. I've done the editing, but I've only directed the campground movies.
Hell yeah. So,
So
this
now that I'm doing Placid Park, like I got to a point where I was like, it's been almost 10 years since I've directed a movie. I want my movie. It feels like it's time. And so, yeah, so Placid Park, and that's why we're taking the time with it, because I'm like, If this
Gotta
is
get
the
it
first
right.
thing I've done in 10 years with
This is
my
your
name on the
this
poster,
is your second baby. You already fucked up the first one.
Exactly.
Make
That's
sure you
how
don't
I
do it
look
again.
at it.
And you test it out on
Because-
everyone else's kids too.
because I was either going to remake the campground with a high budget,
Yeah.
or I was going to do Placid Park. Like
Yeah.
those were the two options. I was like, you know what? You already tried the campground.
Yeah.
Maybe 10 years from now you can come back and revisit that. But let's get Placid Park out there because it's weird, it's cosmic, and I feel like that is a big genre right now. Mm-hmm. People love the really weird off horror shit right now, in my opinion. So I'm like, you know what? It's time to get that movie out there. So we gonna do that.